Happy New Year. This is Barry O'Connell, and I'm going to discuss Maryland's winners and losers. There's too many winners and losers. Huh, Thankfully, there's a lot more winners than losers, but I decided to divide it up. This first one is on a state level. So let's see who we have. Probably the biggest winner this year is Governor Westmore. He had an incredible year campaigning for Vice President Harris and the ticket. He was all over the country. He was extremely popular. He was a highly respected speaker. People loved him. And there's talk about him running for president or vice president, something. Big future ahead of being governor. A couple things. Two things were hanging over his head, which are a problem. One, he said he had a Bronze Star. The Department of Defense said he didn't have a Bronze Star. They finally tracked it down. They admitted their mistake. They completely exonerated Governor Moore. There's no doubt about it now. He was recommended for a Bronze Star by his commanding officer. The paperwork went through, and the Department of Defense lost it. Finally, after all these years, they've been able to get him his Bronze Star. So that takes a lot of pressure off of Governor Westmore. Um, he still has to get through the budget. Session starts soon. And that's a big weight on his shoulders. He can't come out of this session as the tax and spend liberal. Otherwise, he's going to have Larry Hogan running against him. But now Hogan's damaged goods. But still, Governor Moore needs a clean shot, and let's make sure he gets it. Okay, let's talk about some winners and losers on the state level. Starting in the upper left, PK, and forgive me if I mangle your name, Okua Owasu, um, from a Ghana family. She's come to Maryland. She's setting the world on fire. She's made a big difference. She got, she got her law degree, and everything she's touched, she's done perfectly. She was with Lieutenant Governor Miller, um, and Governor Moore spotted how sharp she was, and he gathered up the best of the best and brought her in as a deputy chief of staff. Next to her is her dear friend, and this is an older picture because she's got a Brooke Learman sticker on, but that is Courtney Finkley Green. And just below that, we can see Courtney with the treasurer. Brooke did her dirty. Brooke was not a nice person. That's when we broke our friendship. Um, and Brooke tried to destroy Courtney. I don't want to go into the whole story tonight, but it was a dirty deal. And it looked like Courtney's political career was over. But State Treasurer Derek Davis believed in her, knew her, trusted her, brought her in, even though she had never worked at the state level. And he brought her in to run Maryland 529. It was the worst 529 in the country. This is the state savings plan for parents and grandparents to put money away for kids to go to college. In 1 year, Courtney turned it from the worst in the country to where it was just rated number 1 by CNBC. Proud thing. We don't want to forget this guy in the center, Matt Fergese. Matt, I hope I'm not pronouncing your name wrong. Um, Matt is a senior advisor to Governor Moore. What makes him special, very special, is been the key person working with the federal government to get us our Francis Scott Key Bridge. He's had an incredible year. He's worthy of respect. Um, a lot of people don't know who he is. He hasn't developed a statewide image, but he's a great guy who's done an incredible job. And the people who recommended him for this list praise him highly. Top right corner, um, Manny Welsh. It's no surprise that Manny had a great year. Manny always has a great year. Manny's in his early 30s. I think if I had to guess, Manny's 32 or 33. He's been in politics for over 20 years. He started when he was 10. He's always been at it. He was he got in a fight with a comptroller and Lynn Foxwell years ago, and the comptroller said, to Foxwell, stop the fight. So Foxwell did the logical thing. He hired Manny. If you can't beat him, you may as well hire him in. And Manny was an incredible resource. After Foxwell left the comptroller's office, Manny became chief of staff. He did a really great job uh, for Peter. And, he got the Board of Public Works because he had experience because Peter had a seat on the Board of Public Works. So West brought him over to run the Board of Public Works for the governor and realized that he was one of the most valuable people in the state. A lot of people don't realize that Manny has the level of experience he does because he's a young guy. Um, did an incredible job. Now he's deputy chief of staff and senior advisor. Um, so I think that's a big deal. Lower right hand corner, Karen Darks. Um, Karen's the executive director of the Maryland Democratic Party, state party. She's doing a really good job. So, she got nominated for this list. This isn't all my opinion, although I have opinions on a lot of these people. But a lot of this has to do with people you would know recommended these people as having a great year. They're the big winners. Let's talk about losers. You know, Probably the biggest loser in Maryland politics, David Trone. How you spend $62 million on a Senate race and lose to somebody who had far less. I mean, Angela pulled together, I think, less than $8 million, but um, David had fantastically more money, and he could have spent more. He just ran out of places to spend it. Um, it didn't work. It didn't work. And look at that picture in the center. It's rumored that's where Governor Westmore was telling him, "We're not supporting you." You know, Dave was David Trone was, a congressman from a district that could go Republican. He put his whole district in jeopardy and ran for Senate out of ego. Um, didn't wash. He did something so rotten and so despicable to former First Lady Catherine Curran O'Malley that a lot of people on a state level didn't trust David. If he'd go after and put up money, personal money, from his wife's checking account to smear Katie O'Malley, Judge Katie O'Malley, then he's capable of anything. I'm sure Wes never thought of it this way, but he probably wouldn't want anybody coming after the glamorous First Lady, Dawn. You don't go after people's wives. And Trone, just out of spite, because he had the money and he was going to do it. He wanted to buy Anthony Brown's vote. Anthony's a weasel. So he put up $390,000 to attack Katie, who was running in the open primary at the same time Brown was. It was a dirty deal. He hurt himself from the beginning. I mean, a lot of people didn't want to get close to him. And, when you look across at the bottom, Hogan was ahead by a huge margin, then Trone, and he was easily 5 points ahead of Angela when this race started out. And then Angela showed that she could do the job. She doesn't need training wheels. Black women don't use training wheels. She showed that she could handle it. There were some people in Prince George's County who said, um, vote for the old white guy because he's old and he's white. Angela would need training wheels. It was despicable. Trone put him up to it because, first of all, black people don't use training wheels. And so if they're talking about training wheels, it's because David Trone said it first. It was rotted. And then let's talk about Hogan. Hogan thought he was going to slide in, glide in, have an easy time running for U.S. Senate and fighting off a cough. So if I have to stop and drink a little water or you hear me coughing, my apologies. Hogan was a big loser. This air of invulnerability, you know, he beat Anthony Brown, he beat uh, Ben Jealous. Um, he got big numbers and people liked him. When he got cancer, his approval ratings went up and people cut him a break because he had cancer. That doesn't translate into winning. He thought he was going to win this one easy. He didn't. I picked a picture with Robin Ficker. Say what you want, but this was actually Robin was a winner this time around. He didn't win the primary, but he pulled a very respectable vote total against Larry Hogan in the primary. Um, God only knows if he's going to run again, but he didn't do too bad against Larry Hogan. And Larry Hogan is out standing on his deck looking at the planets, taking pictures of them and claiming that they're what did he claim they were? Spaceships or um, God only knows. He got ridiculed across the country for it. Let's talk about some big losers. This is an ancient picture because Mike Miller and Mike Bush are long dead. But the blueprint for education, um, that's a big loser. There's no way they can continue the blueprint. They've got to take an axe to it. They've got to hack it up. They've got to spread the cost out over a number of years. They can't do it. There's not enough money in Maryland to do what they did. And on the right hand side, Eric Ludecki. Eric's job, um, I forget what he was, majority leader, majority whip, something like that. The speaker told him to get the votes for a funding package for the blueprint for the blueprint, and Eric couldn't do it. So, faced with the prospect of a senior person who couldn't sell the deal, I don't know if maybe the speaker was a little bit tricky on this one, but she got Wes Moore to take him um, to handle legislative matters for him, and that didn't work either. Eric's not a terrible person. He said vicious and terrible things about Peter Franchot, but sooner or later we're going to have to forgive him for that. But the problem is he can't sell the deal. He couldn't sell it for the speaker. He couldn't sell it for the governor. And now a whole bunch of new staff comes in, pushes him aside, and he gets relegated to something not that important. And let's not forget, one of the biggest losers of Maryland politics this year was the Maryland State Education Association, MSEA. Um, they backed Trone heavy. They, you know, they had supported Governor Moore in the primary when he ran. They supported Brooke Learman. Um, they've been a real powerhouse with their Apple ballot. And, they've been very consistently powerful. And this time they go all in for Trone, and Trone loses. And now the Blueprint for Education, which was a big payoff to the MSEA. For all the things they've done over the years, they got the blueprint. Well, now the blueprint is getting dismantled. Um, I forget how many members they have. It's something like 79,000 members in Maryland. They're got to count them as a big loser. Um, one of the biggest losers in the state. Them and Trone. Trone, and they're tied together. I mean, that was an expensive loss for some people. We'll see the same thing in Prince George's County. There's some people who are going to have a difficult time getting reelected or elected to anything because of what they did with Trone. Big winner, Martin O'Malley, the good and saintly Martin O'Malley. Um, he got the job as Commissioner of Social Security. He did a very good job. Um, when Vice President Harris lost, Trump had already announced that he wanted to get rid of Martin. He, Martin had no future at Social Security. They would push him out. So he stepped down and he announced that he's running for DNC chair. He would make a fantastic chairman of the Democratic National Committee. And nobody else running has got the credentials that he has. Nobody else has got the record of success. They all want to say, oh, well, look, he didn't do much against Hillary Clinton. Well, nobody did anything against Hillary Clinton except for Donald Trump. I mean, she had everything going her way. And they pulled a lot of dirty deals and they sank Martin just like they sank everybody else in 2016. You can't hold that against him, but he was a highly successful councilman, mayor, governor, and commissioner of Social Security. Martin is definitely a winner coming out of 2024. Here we have some winners and losers. Upper right hand corner, Johnny O, John Olszewski Jr. Um, He won his congressional seat commandingly. It was never even really a race. He didn't need 6 million or $6.5 million from a foreign government. You know, he raised his money, he ran his race, he won convincingly, and then Johnny O gets a leadership position. He's one of the three incoming freshmen who gets picked for a leadership position. Um, he's considered the golden boy of Democratic politics. There's a good chance we're going to pick up the majority in Congress in 2 years, and expect him to move up quickly. He is a star, um, and that's a real nice position to have somebody in the Maryland delegation who is moving up aggressively, because some of our folks, these guys get older. You can't expect them to stay around forever. So when we get a rock star like Johnny O, it's good for the state. Um, April Delaney ran a good race. Uh, I hope she stays in office a while. I hope she isn't one of these three terms and done people like her husband, like Trone. I hope she hangs around for a long time. I hope she likes Congress and wants to stay around and serve for a very long time. That would be good to have some stability in Western Maryland. We need to have that be a Democratic district, solidly Democratic district for a long time, and she can do it. I jokingly told one of her incoming staff that I'd like to see April die in office. I said, whether it's 10 terms or 20 terms or whatever, let's hope she gets in there and stays until the end, as opposed to three and out. Um, that's just my opinion, but it would be good for Maryland if she stays in office. And then we've got Sarah Elfreth. Sarah had, I don't want to go into the details. I don't know. I was never in the room. I never saw them together. But her relationship with old Mike Bush, Speaker of the Maryland House, Mike was corrupt. No matter how you count it, when Mike was Speaker in over 19 years, 11 Democrats went to jail. That tells you something about how he ran the Maryland General Assembly. That's how he operated. People went to jail when Mike was in charge. Okay. Speaker Jones has been in there. No Democrats gone to jail. No Democrats been indicted. I mean, if anybody was arrested, it was for a parking ticket or something. I don't know if anybody's been caught speeding, but nobody's been caught for anything serious. Speaker Jones runs a clean house. Mike Bush was a dirty weasel. And his protege, Sarah Elfreth. I don't approve of Sarah. I don't dislike her. I don't have anything against her, except I don't like her politics. I don't like her style. I didn't like her relationship with old Mike Bush. I mean, for goodness sakes, that man was married and had a bunch of daughters. Um, Now, she thought she's always been the star, powerhouse, the incoming big shot, all through the Maryland House. And then as Maryland Senate, she's been a big deal and everything's going easy for her. Now she's got into Congress with like $6.5 million from a foreign power. Um, and she's not a big deal anymore. Johnny O took the leadership position. She's not the oldest, she's not the youngest, she's not the prettiest, and she's not the smartest. She's just one more congresswoman. Let's hope she does a good job for Maryland and delivers for her voters. And as always, I want to thank my friends at Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Right now it's New Year's Eve, and my dinner tomorrow, I'm having a Jimmy's Famous Seafood crab cake. It's rated the best in the country, and I'm looking forward to my New Year's Day dinner. Thank you very much.